The betrayal I never saw coming. Hello everyone, welcome back to another story. We've got a heavy one today, so let's dive right in. My name's Jake, and this is about the night I discovered that the woman I was planning to marry had been living a double life right under my nose. Lisa and I had been together for 4 years when I proposed. She was everything I thought I wanted: beautiful, successful, social. She worked in marketing for a tech company and always had these glamorous work events to attend. I was proud to be with her, proud that she chose me out of all the guys who were clearly interested. From the outside, we looked perfect. Social media loved us. Her friends always commented on how lucky she was, how sweet I was, how we were relationship goals. I ate it up. I thought I'd won the lottery, but there were things that should have raised red flags. Lisa was always protective of her phone, never leaving it unattended. She'd take it to the bathroom, keep it face down during dinner. And if I ever glanced at it while she was texting, she'd angle it away or quickly close whatever app she was using. When I asked about it once, she laughed it off. "Babe, I just value my privacy. Don't you trust me?" And of course, I did. Why wouldn't I? She made me feel like questioning her was a reflection of my own insecurities. About 2 years into our relationship, Lisa started traveling more for work. At first, it was maybe once a month, a conference here, a client meeting there. Nothing unusual for someone in her position. She'd send me pictures from hotel rooms, restaurant meals, boring conference halls. She'd call me every night, tell me about her day, complain about long meetings and mediocre hotel coffee. But slowly, the trips became more frequent. 2 or 3 times a month, sometimes lasting an entire week. When I mentioned it seemed like a lot, she'd get defensive. "This is my career, Jake. I thought you supported my ambitions." She had this way of turning any concern I had into a character flaw on my part. I was being unsupportive, controlling, or insecure. So I learned to keep my mouth shut and just miss her quietly. The revelation came on what was supposed to be one of her work trips. She'd left Thursday morning for a 3-day conference in Atlanta. Said she'd be back Sunday evening. I was planning to surprise her with her favorite takeout and maybe run her a bath, since she always came back from these trips exhausted. But Saturday night, I was out with my buddy Mike at this sports bar downtown, watching the game. Mike went to the bathroom and I was scrolling through my phone, not really paying attention to anything around me. Then I heard this laugh. A very specific, familiar laugh that made my blood run cold. I looked up, and there she was. Lisa at a cornered booth, not 20 feet away from me. But she wasn't alone. She was with some guy I'd never seen before, and they weren't discussing quarterly projections. His hand was on her thigh. She was leaning into him, playing with his hair. They were all over each other like teenagers. I just sat there, frozen. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. This had to be a mistake. Maybe it was someone who looked like Lisa. Maybe I was losing my mind. But then she tilted her head back and laughed again. And there was no denying it. I watched them for probably 10 minutes, hoping I was wrong, hoping there was some explanation. But when he leaned in and kissed her, really kissed her, the way she used to kiss me when we first started dating, I knew there was no innocent explanation for this. I could have confronted her right there. Part of me wanted to, but instead, I quietly paid my tab and left. Mike found me in the parking lot, sitting in my car, staring at nothing. "Dude, what happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." I told him everything. He wanted to go back inside. Wanted to cause a scene, but I stopped him. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what to do next. I spent the rest of the weekend in a haze. Lisa texted me throughout Saturday and Sunday, sending pictures from her hotel room and complaining about boring presentations. Each message felt like a knife twisting in my chest. How long had this been going on? How many work trips were actually rendezvous with this guy? How many lies had I believed? When Lisa came home Sunday night, I acted normal. I hugged her, asked about her trip, ordered the takeout I'd planned. But inside, I was watching her every move, listening to every word, looking for cracks in her story. Over the next few weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower. I looked through her emails, her social media DMs, her credit card statements. What I found destroyed me. The guy from the bar was named Derek. He worked for a client company, which is how they met. Their relationship had been going on for over a year. The work trips weren't all fake, but many of them had been extended or fabricated entirely so she could spend time with him. But the worst part wasn't just the cheating. It was reading their conversations. The way she talked about me to him. How I was safe and reliable, but boring. How she stayed with me because I was good on paper and would make a good husband, but Derek made her feel alive. She was planning to string me along until after the wedding, until she was more established in her career, until it was convenient for her to leave. I was her safety net while she had her fun. I could have just confronted her with the evidence. But something in me snapped. Maybe it was reading those messages where she laughed about how oblivious I was, how easy it was to manipulate me. Maybe it was the realization that our entire relationship had been a lie. I decided to plan something special. I told Lisa I wanted to take her out for a nice dinner at that same sports bar where I'd seen her with Derek, though I didn't mention that part. I said I'd heard they had great steaks. She tried to suggest somewhere else. Said she'd heard the place was kinda cheap, but I insisted. I made reservations for Saturday night. Saturday came, and Lisa was acting nervous all day. She kept suggesting we stay in, order delivery, have a quiet night. But I was persistent. We got to the restaurant, and I requested the same corner booth. Where I'd seen her with Derek, she kept looking around nervously, checking her phone constantly. Halfway through dinner, I reached across the table and took her hand. "Lisa, I have something important to tell you." She perked up, probably thinking I was about to propose again or plan some romantic gesture. "I saw you here last weekend with Derek." The color drained from her face. She tried to pull her hand away, but I held on gently. "I know about the trips. I know about the messages. I know everything." For a moment, she just stared at me. Then came the tears, the denials, the explanations. It was all a misunderstanding. Derek was just a friend. I was taking things out of context. She loved me. She would never hurt me. But I'd read their messages. I'd seen the photos. I knew exactly what this was. I let her finish her explanations. Her promises to cut contact with Derek. Her pleas for another chance. Then I stood up, dropped enough cash on the table to cover dinner, and said, "Lisa, I'm not angry. I'm just done. Your things will be packed and waiting for you when you get home. Please have them picked up by tomorrow." She followed me out to the parking lot, crying, begging, promising it would never happen again. But I'd heard enough lies. I'd spent 4 years being manipulated by someone who saw me as a convenience rather than a partner. The hardest part wasn't losing Lisa. It was accepting that the person I'd fallen in love with had never really existed. The woman who sent me sweet good morning texts was the same one who was planning secret getaways with another man. The woman who talked about our future together was the same one who called me boring to her lover. Lisa tried everything to get me back. She showed up at my apartment, my work, sent flowers with apology notes. She even had Derek call me to explain that it was all a misunderstanding, that they were just friends. The audacity was almost impressive. Her friends called me heartless for not giving her another chance. They said everyone makes mistakes, that I should forgive her if I really loved her. But this wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated deception that lasted over a year. It's been 6 months now, and I'm in a much better place. I've learned that real love doesn't operate in shadows. It doesn't require lies, manipulation, or backup plans. If someone truly values you, they don't keep you around as a safety net while they explore other options. They don't compartmentalize their life to hide parts of it from you. They don't make you feel like you're crazy for having basic expectations of honesty and loyalty. To anyone listening who might be wondering about their own relationship, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. If you find yourself making excuses for your partner's behavior, if you're constantly reassuring yourself that everything is fine when it doesn't feel fine, pay attention to that feeling. Love shouldn't require you to ignore red flags or convince yourself that suspicious behavior is normal. You deserve someone who chooses you completely, not someone who keeps you around while they figure out if something better comes along. Don't let anyone make you feel like expecting basic honesty and loyalty makes you controlling or insecure. Those are the bare minimum requirements for any healthy relationship. Thanks for listening. And remember, your story might help someone else recognize what they've been tolerating for too long.